Hey, what's up guys, welcome to another tutorial of PHP and MySQL series, and in today's video we are going to learn about PHP math functions. When you will write your PHP applications or PHP programs, you will often required to use math functions, and PHP have a wide variety of math functions available, but in today's video and the next video after this, I will teach you some of the functions and I will teach you the method how you can use these functions in your programs. Once you will learn the method, then you will able to use any of the PHP math function in any of your application. So without any delay, let's start. So here on the screen, you can see that I have write some functions of maths. The first one is ABS, floor, ceil, round, int div, POW and SQRT, which means square root, and we will learn about these functions one by one using practical. So the first function we have is ABS. First of all, let me show you its definition. The ABS function returns the absolute positive value of a number. Suppose you have a floating point number minus 5.1, and if you will pass that number inside this function, it will remove its negative signs and it will return you a positive number. Let me show you through practical. First of all, I will open the Visual Studio Code, and next make sure to open the XAMPP and start your Apache server. I have opened them in a split mode, and here I have created a file named phpmath.php. So first of all, I will create a variable here named num, which is already created, and next I will create a number here like 4.1, and if I will echo this, I have to type my function name, which is ABS. We have to pass our variable name inside this like this. And now inside your browser, you can search for localhost/learn and phpmath.php. You can see that in the output, it have removed the minus sign from our input. And similarly, if you will pass a positive number inside this function, it will do nothing. If you will pass 0 inside this function, then it will return you a 0 value. So basically this function returns the absolute value of any integer or floating point number. The next function we have is floor. Its definition is the floor function rounds a number down to the nearest integer if necessary and return the result. Here if you notice this word down, it means suppose you have a number like 5.2, then this function will return the 5. If you have a number like 5.9, still this function will return. Let me show you through practical. Here you can see that we have a number like 5.1, and if I pass this number from a function named floor, let me refresh this, you can see that it have returned us 5, and if you will pass 5.9 from this function, it will return still 5 because the nearest down integer to this number is still 5. If you will pass 0 from this function, it will return 0, but if you will pass 5.1 in negative form, it will return minus 6 because minus 6 is the down nearest integer to this number 5.1. The next function we have is PHP ceil function, and the ceil function rounds a number up to the nearest integer if necessary. Basically this function is exactly opposite to the floor function. Suppose if you will pass 5.1 from this function, it will return you 6 because the up nearest integer would be 6. Let me show you through practical. Here you can see that we have a number like 5.1, and if we will pass this from ceil function, and if I will refresh the page, you can see that it is returning me 6 because the up nearest integer would be 6. Similarly, suppose if I pass here 5.9, it will return still 6, but if I will return here minus 5.9, then it will return us minus 5 because the up nearest integer against this floating point number is minus 5. Suppose if you want to divide a number like 4 to another number like 2, you can use this int div function. Basically it is a combination of two characters. Int stand for integer and div stand for division, and we have to pass two parameters in this function. Let me show you through practical. First of all, I will open my paint here so you can understand. Suppose you have a number like 8 and you have another number like 2, and you want to divide this 8 to this integer. You will pass your this integer as your first parameter and your this integer as your second parameter. In our example, here suppose I have a variable like num_a and I will store a value in it like 8, and similarly I will create another variable like num_b and store a value inside this like 2. The first parameter would be num_a, the number that we want to divide, and the second parameter would be num_b, the number on which we want to divide our first number. In a function, when you need to pass two parameters, you always type comma between them, and like this you can pass as parameters as you want in a function, but make sure your function should support those parameters. So let me show you through practical. Basically it is giving us an error because we have to use int div function here. Here you can see that it is giving me the answer after dividing this number to this number. Suppose if you have a number here like 9, let me show you what would be the answer. You can see that still our answer have 4, because in our example, suppose you have a number here like 9. Let me remove this integer, and 2 4s are 8. The 1 would be remainder, but still the value at this position would be 4. It will don't type here a dot and 0 and return us a floating point value. It will return us this value. Suppose if I will type here 10, still it will return me. Now it is returning me 5, but suppose here we have a value of 4, it will return me 2. But if I type here 12, then it will return me 3. So this is the usage of this int div function in PHP. Similarly, the next function we have is POW, which means power. The POW function returns x raised to the power of y. Suppose you have a number like 5 and you want to find its power up to 2 level. In mathematical, you will write like this. You can also call this value a base value, and you can call this value a power that we want to find. In our this example, I will create a variable here like base, which would be 5, and similarly I will create another variable like power, and I will assign 2 value to this variable. The first parameter you have to pass in your POW function would be base, and the second parameter would be power. And let me refresh this. You can see that it is returning me 5 raised to power 2, but similarly if you will type here 3, it will return me 125. So basically POW function used to find the power of any integer. The last function we have is sqrt function, and sqrt function returns the square root of a number. Suppose we have a number here like 49, and I want to find the square root of this number. Let me refresh this page. It is giving me an error because we have to type correctly our variable name here, and you can see that it is returning me 7. Suppose if I type here 50, it will provide me a value in decimal form. So friends, I hope you must enjoyed this video. If you have any question, you can ask us in the comment section, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel for our regular videos. And finally, thanks for watching.